Welcome back, moms and dads. I am stealing Brad's line here. We kicked him out of the studio today because we're talking about home birth, and I brought my friend Dara along with me, and we're going to talk all about home birth and how to make the most of your home birth. So anyway, so Dara, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your, just how many home births you had, how many kids you have, and where you are right now.
Sure. So we have 5 kids and another one on the way, so soon to be 6. We had 2 hospital births, the first 2, and then the last 3 have been home births, and this one is a planned home birth. So I'm about 8 months pregnant. I would love to have the baby tomorrow, but probably not for 5 more weeks. So
yeah. So it's always nice when you get to that point. You're like, I'd like this now.
Yes.
Thank you. But we're at the painful part of the pregnancy. I used to say, I retracted this statement this last pregnancy. But I used to say, like, I'd rather have 2 third trimesters rather than a first, second, and a third, because I hate the first trimester so much.
I feel like the second trimester is really the golden trimester.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Like, you're not in too much pain, but you're over most of the nausea.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I used to hate the nausea so much, I'm like, I would rather take the discomfort. But this last one, I'm like, I retract that statement. Thank you.
Once you've had so many babies, it just gets a little more painful each time.
It does. So. Yeah, your body just kind of deteriorates a little bit more. And then you've got the age on top of it. You're a year and a half or 2 years older than you were the first time. So it's not that
not in my 20s anymore.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Yeah, I'm almost 40. I'm going to be 39 this year. I'm so old. I actually had to dye my hair because I'm like, I have newborn babies. I cannot have gray hair and newborn babies. So, yeah. I'm just old. You're a lot younger than I am.
I'm a little bit younger.
A little bit younger.
Greta's always been my mentor, so I always am a little nervous to be on a podcast with her because
I don't know. I think we learn a lot from each other. I've learned much from you over the years. So anyway, we've been friends for about 10 years now. Yeah. And so you kind of got me started on the home birth train. And
yeah, the Zudes thought it was pretty crazy when we first talked about it. Well, maybe more so Brad.
My husband was not so on the. He was a little bit more skeptical.
And to be fair, we thought it was pretty crazy too. When we first started looking into it, we didn't know anybody that had a home birth before. It wasn't a normal thing that my husband and I had ever grown up around, and so it was all very new, and didn't really know much about it. So
that Jim Gaffigan thing, they're like, we had our baby in the hospital because we want our baby to live, or something like that. Yeah.
And he talks about the midwife.
Yeah.
Like, what does he say about witchcraft or something?
Yeah, our baby was delivered by a witch. I don't know what I don't know what he says about it, but something really funny like that. But
we don't believe in witchcraft.
No, we don't. No. And so I think that Brad kind of thought that about home birth, and so he was pretty skeptical. But I mean, he didn't really think that, but he thought he was pretty skeptical. And there is some security in going to the hospital, and you're kind of told, like, well, that's the only safest place to have a baby. And,
sure.
And lots of people think that. Mm-hmm. And for those cases where you are more high risk, they would consider me high risk at this point, just because I'm old.
Right.
But if you actually have those risk factors, then it can be safer to have your baby in the hospital because you have those emergency things at your disposal when you need them. But if you are a healthy person and you don't have the risk factors and you've never had a complicated birth, and things like that, then
right. So most people go to the hospital if they have a problem,
Right.
And I think thinking of birth as a problem is probably the wrong way to think of it. Most births are normal and natural and God's way of getting the baby out. And so it's not something to be afraid of. It can happen, and we always have a certified midwife, and it's legal. That was important for us. And so we do have a medical professional present who knows us and
who's very professional. So
right.
Okay, so I think we're going to talk about some tips for home birth and what makes your home birth good or not good, mistakes maybe that we've made. So the first one I want to throw out there is there's a difference between a CNM and a CPM, a professional midwife and a nurse midwife. So a nurse midwife is someone that is actually a nurse practitioner, right, that has gone to school, that's gone to training, is licensed, and they're kind of hard to find. And then you have professional midwives, depending on your area, I guess I should say. Professional midwives have done training. They are legal, I will say. But
well, different states have different laws.
True.
But for Iowa,
that's
what's legal.
Yep. So it is legal in Iowa, but they don't have a medical license. So one of the things that we've had both. You've only done a nurse midwife.
Right.
We did the professional midwife our first time, and then we used your same nurse midwife the second time. And I will say that it was so much nicer for us to have the nurse midwife. Our professional midwives were great. We loved them. They were super sweet and knowledgeable and all of that stuff. They were great. The problem was our first time, especially being our first time. Brad was a little bit more uncomfortable with the whole thing, and he's like, I want the baby to go to the doctor in the first 2 days, and then we have a boy, and so they didn't do any of those things like the blood samples, and they're not medical professionals, so Brad's like, I really want the baby to go to the doctor, and so in the first couple days, I should be, resting and relaxing at home, and we're going to the doctor. And then we went and did the blood draw at the hospital. And then a couple days later, we did the circumcision at the hospital. And it was just like, I felt like the first week I was out of the house, and I was so tired. And so that was the nicest thing about having the nurse midwife is that, she did all of those things, not a circumcision because we had a girl. And she doesn't do that anyway. So
right. You still have to go to the hospital, but she's really great about it. She says, look, you have 6 weeks to get this done, and I absolutely don't want you to get it done in the first 2 weeks. You need to be resting. And I think that's a common mistake of home births is that you just had a home birth and you're home and you think you're Superwoman, and so you get up and you get back to your regular duties, and that's at the hospital. They make you lay down, they make you rest, and so you kind of have to take your own postpartum care into your own hands. The midwife gives a lot of instructions, but it's ultimately your choice. She doesn't stand there and watch you the whole time. Right. Which is great. I like that she does it. So
right. It's really for someone that is wanting to take more control over the whole thing, not just postpartum, but the whole experience in general. Taking charge of making sure you're being healthy and during your pregnancy, and doing your research and being prepared for pain management during the labor and all of that stuff. So
and then certified nurse midwife, she can also, if you need an antibiotic or whatever during your pregnancy or after your pregnancy, she can give you prescriptions. She can give the baby prescriptions. She's a doctor for all.
It's pretty much a doctor.
It's really great. And she comes to your house, so you don't have to. I think almost all of my appointments but one, she has come to the house this time, which has been really sweet. And so
that's super nice.
I have to think about where my other kid's going to go for appointments. She just comes over and we sit. Sometimes I make her coffee, and it's like having coffee for a friend, and we talk about my medical issues. So
it's just really super nice.
It's
really
very
super nice.
It's just, it kind of gives that vibe and the atmosphere of the home birth even before. That's one of the things that I love most about having a home birth is the atmosphere. You're at home, you're comfortable. There's not all of these strangers and lights and sterile things everywhere.
Or not so sterile things.
Or not so sterile things. I don't know. Like, what does Jim Gaffigan say? He talks about...
I want to give birth in a gown that someone died in yesterday.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on here, really.
Right.
And so, in your home, you know exactly what's going on, and you can make that atmosphere what you want, which I think is also really beautiful and fun to watch different women prepare for their babies and get their home ready, get their families ready, and really use this as a time to bless the people around them.
Yeah.
Because those are the people that are going to be taking care of you, and so you can get them ready or not.
Oh man, I forgot to turn this off.
Uh-huh.
Have you made any mistakes in any of your home births? Like, oh boy, I wish I would have done that differently. Or any like, oh, this made it totally great.
Yeah. I think the biggest mistake that I made with my first 2 home births was not taking the proper rest time. And then with my last home birth and pregnancy, because I didn't allow my body to heal correctly those times, I really felt it. So that's probably the biggest mistake. Other than that, I think not maybe having the best thought out plan for where my kids are gonna go and what they're gonna do. And
so it's a pretty common thing to have, like, for people who do home births, to have their children a part of it or have them there. So what do you typically do with your kids?
We have chosen so far not to have them at home. We have a lot of really close friends and family in the area, and so they kind of get farmed out, which they love. They love to go to their friend's house or go to grandma's house, and it's not, like, if my kids are around, I'm more prone to focus on them rather than on the labor that's happening. And even postpartum, they'll stay away for a few days, and I think that's important because I think you do need to focus on getting your body ready to take care of your family again and nursing your baby. I mean, when you're at the hospital, the nurse comes in and changes the diapers and kind of takes care of the baby, but when you're home, you change all the diapers and you take care of the baby.
Right.
And
nobody's wheeling them out and bringing them back every 3 hours for them to nurse.
Right. And you really have to do all of that. So.
Although I think with all the changes in the hospital now that there's not that going on.
Really?
Like, they don't have a nursery. Like in most hospitals, I'm guessing.
They stay.
But yeah, baby has to stay in the room. So I guess it is somewhat the same in the hospital too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think so. The last time we had our kids, we had the baby in the middle of the night, and so our kids just went to bed. In the morning, they were more excited to go to their friend's house than they were to see the baby. Like, they saw the baby, they're like, oh, she's so sweet. Okay, are we going now? Can I get my bag? And they were more excited to go to their friend's house anyway.
I'm sure.
But, so technically my kids were here the last time.
Sure.
Yeah, they were here, but they weren't, there was only one, our oldest one, that was a part of the experience. But I think you're right. I think for me it's harder to focus on, getting through the pain and doing what I need to do if my kids are running around.
And if you are going to have your kids around, like, I'm open to having my kids in the house now. We have a little bit bigger house, so it might make sense. But I'm also going to ask their aunt to be there so that if they are awake or if they are waking up in the middle of the night, she can go and take care of them. Yeah. And my husband and I can just focus on what's going on.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, you took care of some of my kids crying in the middle of the night.
Thomas was crying. And
there was a storm, and he kept waking up, and
I just went up and put him back to bed, and it was fine. It's great.
Yeah.
So thank God I didn't have to think about that.
Nice. That was very nice. So how about like the atmosphere of home, and how did you, like during the labor process, what's your goal to have done or prepared so that you can really focus on what you need to do?
I guess most importantly, well, I guess I would have two thoughts on that. First, whatever room you're going to labor in, that needs to be somewhat tidy and comfortable. I don't know, have your favorite candle if you like smells, or if you like music, have a playlist. Just make it comfortable for you. It doesn't have to be perfect, but somewhat tidy and organized.
Yeah.
Have your birth kit ready.
And have it out so that
Yeah.
people can find the items easily, because you're not going to be really wanting to search around and
Right.
find stuff.
Yeah.
That is a mistake I made this time. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't get...
She did have a last minute
It was last
home
minute.
birth. So
Kind of. It ended up being longer than I had hoped, but you know.
we thought we'd have a week, but we had what, 2
2.
weeks?
Yeah. But I didn't have my clothes out that I wanted to change into.
Oh yeah.
And it's always a hard thing for me, like, what am I going to want to wear? What am I going to be able to fit into? And then I'm like, oh, well, it'll just all be in my closet. And then, you know, you just have a baby and people are like, what do you want me to help you get into? And I'm like, I don't know.
And I'm not necessarily uncomfortable going through your drawers in your closet, but I don't know. It might make you uncomfortable to have me going through your stuff.
I don't care, you know.
Yeah,
but it's just the convenience and the like, oh man, I wish I would have gotten some outfits out.
I think I did that once too. And just setting out an outfit or two to have things ready.
2 is a good idea.
It probably is, because things happen.
Yeah,
so,
things
and
happen.
they happen fast. And here's the other thing. Some home births are cleaner and some home births are messy. I've had kind of the both, where I got done, the baby was out, and I was like, wow, that was just a breeze, and that wasn't even messy at all. And then I've had other ones where my doulas had to work really hard, so to clean it all up.
Yeah, and you just never know what's going to happen, where things are going to land.
Yeah, you don't.
So that's okay.
Being prepared, having your birth kit ready, and having stuff to clean up stuff for your doula's benefit is a way to bless them, so that they're not rummaging around the house looking for carpet spray or...
So, okay, so we keep talking about doulas.
Yeah.
And I think that this is one of the reasons, this is one of the reasons why we decided to do a last minute home birth. So, I don't know if we've talked about this before with Brad or not, but so with the whole, you know, stuff that's going on right now, the Rona coming, then all the policies in the hospital changed, and we are used to having some close friends in our births. And with all the policies changing, they said, nope, only your spouse or your significant other. And that was a really, really big deal to me. I love my husband, and he is really wonderful. But, and, you know, pretty much, and you can verify this, like, it's pretty much me and him. Like, we do it, like, absolutely. We do it together. But there's an element that our friends bring, a fellowship and an element of joy that there is in having you and some other people there. And I think that's super, super important. I think that's so important. And it's so nice not to have just your husband and your midwife there.
Yeah.
To do things and to clean up. And if I had to depend on Brad to clean up all of it after it's all over,
no. And you really want him, like, you don't want him to do that. You want him to be with you, enjoying the baby, rejoicing and being excited. You don't want him to be so busy.
Right, exactly.
Picking things up that he's not.
So doula brings with it this, like, oh, you have to hire someone to be there, you know, to coach you through the birth and everything. And that's
this professionalism.
Yeah, and that's not really what it's been for us. And there are some helpful things that our doulas do, you know, that we do for each other. But it's more just, okay, my friends are here to help out.
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, and I've loved that. And I was really, really, really sad when that whole thing came down with the hospital thing. Because before, I'm like, okay, if I can have my people here, that's great. I can do it in the hospital. And it was really, for us, it was just an insurance thing. Like, our insurance didn't pay for it this time because we got a different insurance. And we didn't want to pay that big bill out of pocket. But we ended up doing it anyway because it just, it's just so much better. So much better.
There's something about being in a very vulnerable place like birth and having your close friends there to experience that's really precious, and it's memorable for them, it's memorable for you, and it just kind of sweetens that relationship. But it's also super practical because they can do things like read scripture to you or remind you about who God is. They can do things like give your husband food when he's hungry. I have one doula, she's been at every birth, and she always brings my husband food. And it's really nice because he is well taken care of, and he can take better care of me. They can do things like feed you ice and give you juice after you had a baby. And I don't know, it's just a very sweet relationship that I have really come to love. And I like a lot of people. This time I'm having 4 extra friends.
So your husband, your midwife, and 4 more people.
Yeah. Because it does become like a little bit of a party atmosphere. Very quiet, peaceful party, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody's excited and chatty, and they bring this element of joy that I think the hospital lacks. And you can get to the hospital and, you know, everybody's so serious and everybody's so focused on what could go wrong. And when you're at home, everybody's just so excited and cheering you on, and just, I don't know, it's very, even in your worst moments. I have the one that's out, comes every time. She just has the biggest smile, and it reminds me, okay, there's a God, and there's a world of happiness, and it's okay, and this is just a painful moment, but I will smile again, and my baby will probably smile, and it's okay. And just brings a lot of joy to that.
It does. So. It really does.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to wrap up, and let's give me, like, your top 2 tips. Real quick, hot tips.
Hot tip for going into birth, hospital or home birth: have a good attitude and repent before you go. Worst birth ever for me. I went into it angry and it was horrible. So don't go in angry, especially with your spouse. And number 2, just be prepared to bless the people that you're going to be with. And remember that, yes, this is your birth, but it's not all about you. And be kind and considerate.
It's not all about you.
Even when you're in pain.
That right there is that is quite the statement, Dara. We might get some hate mail over that.
Yeah, maybe we need to do another one just on that. Oh, man. My husband always lectures me on that, and he's right, and it's great. And it's very helpful to go into it thinking this is not all about me.
All right.
So.
Okay, well, you put the very nice spiritual spin on it. I'm going to go with more of the practical tips here.
It's necessary. We need both.
Okay. Okay. So, number 1, depends.
Yes, that's a great thing.
Yeah. I didn't know about depends until baby number 7.
Sometimes for week 38, too, before you have the baby.
That is also a possible, I mean, you might need it then, too.
Only if you have so many kids.
Well, or you have a really bad cold.
Yeah.
And you can't you're coughing a lot.
They're
Sometimes some things just come out, you know. Okay. Maybe too much information, but depends. That I didn't know about depends until baby number 7. And
wow.
I know. How did I not know about
this is why it's really great that Greta's older than me. I'm 2 kids behind her and a few years younger. And I get to learn about Depends before baby number 7.
I don't know. Maybe you knew about him before I did. I don't know.
I don't think I did.
Okay, well, it's a necessity.
Yeah.
And hot tip number 2. Oh boy, I have so many that I'd like to share. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go with practical. All right. Clean up the space that you're going to be in and forget about the rest.
Yes. Yes.
So we have our baby in the bedroom always, and I don't care what's going on in the kitchen or the upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
I actually walked upstairs. I was told not to, but I walked upstairs.
Oh no, that's stressful.
I know. And I didn't realize that, since nobody had been there, what had happened up there.
Don't
and
go
it was
in your
really,
kids' bedrooms.
it was, I'm like, this is this is how they left it. Oh my. So I'm really glad that I didn't go there for days until right before they came home.
I'm really excited. We've always had to have our home births in the living room because our bedroom was not big enough and our bathroom is teeny. So essentially I had to have our bedroom, our living room, and you could really see into our kitchen and our bathroom, like our whole main level clean. And this time, all I have to do is clean my bedroom.
Yep.
That's all that has to happen. And
Yep.
it's really nice.
Maybe your bathroom. All right. Sorry, our video got cut off, but those are our home birth tips. So hope you enjoy. If you've had a home birth, comment down below and tell us your best home birth tips. That would be great. All right. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.